my town is filled with racists.
Gnosis is found wherever Sophia walks and is not dependent upon any school of thought.
It's where the sexual energy is deposited within ourselves. It's where our vitality, our creative energy is there.
Mind, body, and spirit, what we call today the three major divisions of philosophical thinking. Right. Basically, what this is depicting is the person who has self-realization unifies his body, mind, and spirit in such a way that he or she can ascend through the various dimensions of psychic exploration, spiritual creativity, and even in the worlds of science and knowledge as depicted in the book, understand astronomy and cosmology of other worlds we would call today parallel evolution. Right. You can be Christed if you find the feminine. If you do not find the feminine within you, you can be tormented by a judgmental God or a system of belief that suppresses the inner psyche.
Greetings, fellow worker slaves, podcasting at 128 kilobits from the Fortress of Squalitude, not far from the Redneck Mecca. This is the 8th in the Trailer Park podcast. I'm your host, Tucker. Professor Fuzznuts is in my lap demanding attention, and he's doing so very cautiously because he knows the free medicine is handy, and he's going to get it tonight. Buddha is exploring the couch. Ash and Lord Squeakington are in my room. Yes, it's a podcast hosted by a guy and his cats. Get over it. This is a Gnostic Gospels episode where Skullbeard and I read from the Acts of John, and I think in this one we make it to another text. I'm not really sure because I had to... If I hadn't blabbed so much the last one of these episodes, it would have filled up all we recorded, but because I blabbed so much, I had to trim some of it, which means you didn't get to hear the call forward that I made. So you'll get to hear that this time around. Now, let's just get to the big thing that happened this week that inspired the opening sting. Monday, and this is important, in one of the local Facebook groups for the town, somebody made a post, and they posted an image that was one of those ones that text that people, because of the way Facebook does sharing, it's easier a lot of times if you have a block of text, you make it a photograph or an image file and share the image file. That's what this was. And it was obviously something that had gotten, uploaded and downloaded, saved, and altered a whole bunch of times because the resolution was getting really fuzzy on it. And the post accompanying that image, which I'll get to the text in the image here in a moment, said, "This was supposed to happen on Sunday. Did anyone get looted?" Again, this is important. The image, the text in the image was, and I didn't save it. I didn't think to save it. I wish I had now because it's since been deleted, so I'm going off memory. But it was along these lines. My sister's husband's brother's cousin's husband, something like that. It was not my brother-in-law works or my husband works. It was, several times removed from whomever the original individual supposedly was. Works for the Nashville Police Department. And they saw a list that said, my city and another city right next door were scheduled to be hit by looters on Sunday night. And there was some other stuff in it that was like, I hope everybody's prepared, just be watchful, be aware, blah, blah, shit like that. It was so ludicrously obvious to me that this was bullshit that, I just laughed at it. Then I noticed some of the responses to it. There were a couple that were, like me, who were just laughing hysterically at the idea that it was true. But there were a shit ton of responses. People going, well, when looters show up, I got my guns. I sleep with my shotgun every night. Or, I'm all locked and loaded. They'll get a surprise. They come here. Things like that. And they were all worded so that they didn't use the N-word, but they might as fucking well have, because they were so blatantly racist, it was beyond belief. And then when I went to look for it later, because I was like, no, I need to save this and show it to people, it was gone. There were other posts, which I'll get to in a minute, that were just as offensive, however. So, Tuesday at work, and I got almost 40 hours this week, if you can imagine that. Tuesday at work, I was, on my phone on my break, and I'm sitting there and I'm seeing, all these statements from people in the local group, and I can't find that post now, or with the text image. But they're all, there's a Black Lives Matter protest that's supposed to take place downtown tonight. They's gonna do all this stuff, blah blah blah. I'm like, I'm not about to pretend the cops here aren't racist, but I'm like, we are such a spitwater town that I can't see a lot of people organizing for it. There has been one such protest in this town that I know of, was shortly after I started at Rich's, I think. It was like on a Saturday, and I just happened to spot it when I was walking somewhere, and they were standing across the street from the Wendy's in town for some reason and doing the protest. I don't know why they picked that spot to do it, because that's not near the square. And so anyways, Tuesday there's all this talk, and one of the guys comes into work on, he's a second shift guy. He comes in and he's telling me, well, they got all the square shut down. They got all the police out there. They got the fire trucks. They got, there's gonna be a riot down there. They got all these protesters. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm looking on my phone while he's telling me this, looking at the local shit, the local groups and the the city's Facebook page and all that. And the only references I can find to it are people saying, well, the mayor and the chief of police have said they don't know anything about it. There's, and I'm looking at, like, the official Facebook page for the city. There's nothing there about the whole thing, or that even the city doing anything different. And I'm like, whatever. So I go home. When I get off work, I don't bother checking out the square to see where it is, and I'm awfully tired. But I get home and I log on to Facebook and I'm poking around. trying to see if anything's going on. And I see, they're live streaming the town council meeting. Presumably the mayor's going to be there, so if there was any kind of protest going on, they wouldn't be holding the town council meeting. But whatever, I don't think anything about it. I go do my other stuff, and then I go check in on Facebook later, and turns out they were having a protest down there, and it was a peaceful protest, as you can imagine. And the mayor and the chief of police both, joined the protesters, took a knee. There was, somebody, I don't know who it was, apparently gave a very moving speech, according to all the descriptions, and everybody felt better. And they went home. I'm like, okay, fine. So there was a thing planned. I have no idea if the people had actually, told the mayor it was going to happen ahead of time. The mayor and the chief of police were saying, no, we don't know anything about it, because they wanted to ensure that there was no violence. I can understand their reasons for wanting to do that. But there was still a lot of stuff going on in the various Facebook groups that were questionable. Well, we're going to see if they start rioting and things like that. And then the next day I go to work, and I overhear my lead talking, because he left, a few minutes before I did on Tuesday. And he was telling one of the guys I work with, who had a similar story, as it turned out, that he'd gone to Walmart, and he was in there, and at like 5 o'clock, they said, everybody get the fuck out. And, it was like, it doesn't matter where you are, you have to leave the store now. Like there was a bomb threat, or, a mass shooting or something like that. So he leaves, and this other guy was, that I work with, he had the same thing happen to him. He was in there and had no idea what was going on. He was like waiting at the deli counter, and they said, everybody's got to leave. According to various things I've seen about the local town, in the local Facebook groups, it's supposedly they had signs posted that this week Walmart was closing at 5 p.m. for unspecified reasons. The implication was that they were worried the store was going to be looted. Other people were saying that no, there were no signs. I don't know who to believe. I'm not going down there. It's too far right now for me to do it. Because, we're still under, still have to worry about coronavirus, and nobody's wearing fucking masks anymore but me, it seems like. So they do that whole, so I see that, and I'm like, oh my God. And then, of course, it turns out that, a lot of other towns are having the same thing, that, there's rumors the looters are coming. And the reason why I said everything was important about, the looting was supposed to happen on Sunday, but we only heard about it on Monday, and then the protest happened on Tuesday, is one of the, it's called agitprop, agitating propaganda, that the U.S. deployed overseas for decades, especially in Latin America, they look to emotionally trigger people and scare them. So the whole, so deliberately, saying, okay, this was supposed to happen yesterday, immediately gets people thinking, oh my God, I didn't hear about this. I got lucky, or the government's trying to cover this up. And then like, well, maybe it's today, we better be prepared, blah, blah, blah. It gives them, it puts a vagueness in things that makes it easier for people's own minds to fill in details. Now, I'm not saying the person who posted the text image was a Russian operative. I don't know. I did not recognize the name, but that's not surprising. There's 40,000 people in this town. I rarely go into the local Facebook groups because they all tend to be Republicans, and there's usually not a lot of stuff being talked about there that I'm interested in. It's, hey, where's the best place to get turnip greens? Or, we're running a local business here. We sell nostril pickings. If you'd like to come and get some nostril pickings, you can come on down and get them. It's... And, of course, it being Facebook, people are oftentimes dicks. So I don't know if that person was actually a legitimate resident of this area, or if they were a Russian bot, or if they were, with a neo-Nazi type group who were trying to stir shit up, because there are some in the area. I don't know, but certainly that image they showed originated with either the Russians or a neo-Nazi type group. The Boogaloo Boys. Well, we just want another civil war, man. No, you're fucking racists. So that was the big thing this week. I realize it doesn't sound like a lot, but not only for this area is it a big thing, but the simple fact that, people are trying to stir up shit because folks are upset with the way the police are treating people is not a good thing, and it's happening all over the place. And I have to say that I've noticed a strong uptick in activities by Russian bots on Facebook. And how I know that the accounts are Russian bots is I go through and I start looking at the kinds of things that they post. And I don't automatically discount somebody because they post something from Russia TV or Sputnik TV, which are Russian propaganda outlets. But there are certain key things that you begin to notice if you stare at enough of these accounts after a while. They will have almost none or none, no pictures of themselves. They may have like one, but it kind of looks like a stock image that they got from somewhere, even if it doesn't turn up as a stock image on an internet search. And everything they post is either some kind of meme or is a news article that's politically related to things. And I realize there will be days where an ordinary person, like for me, there's some days all I ever post on Facebook are like news articles and things like that. But if you look at my photographs, I got photographs from the various atheist cons I've been to, just around town, stuff like that. These accounts have none of that. And in the past, if I figured out that somebody was a Russian bot, I would stay friends with them on Facebook and I had a document that I would put their names in so I could remind myself. And then I realized that by being friends with them, I'm elevating their status in the Facebook algorithms. And that makes it more likely other people will see what they have to say. So that increases their influence on society. So now, whenever I figure out somebody's a Russian bot, I just unfriend them. And another key thing that'll tell you is the account will be, it might have been created a couple of years ago or so, but it's inactive until very recently, and then suddenly it lights up, and then there's all these postings. They may post like once a year prior to this, and now it's bam, 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 the whole thing in a week. Another tell is that they post something on their wall, and people will respond to it, but the original poster does not. So that's a good tell that it's a bot. It's a Russian bot, or maybe it's a Chinese bot, or some other country's bot. but it's definitely not an ordinary human being. And so I've been unfriending them. I had one today that it flipped all the switches because, they were sharing political stuff and the crazy conspiracy theory shit about 5G. So, even if they hadn't been a Russian bot, I would have unfriended him. And there was somebody whom I will not name because they're connected to one of the big atheist podcasts, and I don't want to get them involved in anything. But I searched the name on Facebook of this bot account, and it pulled up like 4 or 5 accounts with either the same name or a similar name, one letter off here or there, and like the same avatar picture. So obviously, it's supposed to be the same person on all those accounts, because I'm sure a lot of you out there have multiple accounts because you post some minor thing and you get sent to Facebook jail for a month or whatever, and you have your backup account so you can still keep in touch with important people. So it's understandable why you should do that, but this, they had all these multiple accounts. So I took a screen grab of all that, and then I sent it to this person who's connected to the major atheist podcast. And I says, you probably will want to unfriend this person because they're clearly a bot, or even if they're not, they're spreading disinformation. That's not good. Because they will use that to wend their way in amongst the listeners of that podcast. That's one of the that's all sort of basically how they hacked the DNC, because they hacked the email of some low-level person, because that was easier, and then they used that because that person had the email addresses of upper-level people in the DNC, and they wormed their way that way, hopping from them to them to them till they got to the people that they could that had the goods they wanted. It's a common practice, and I've argued with the local DNC about some of their procedures to make sure that they're following the right ones, because we're not big on the international or national scale, but I guarantee you that the personal email of the head of the state party is known to somebody on the county party. And if they get hacked, they get the state person's email. And that state person is going to know somebody in the national party who does not have a public-facing email, and they're going to get them that way. And then, it's 2016 all over again. And I am honestly trying to cut down on my use of Facebook as much as I can, because it is becoming so very clear to me that not only is it designed to be a toxic environment, they are unwilling to make modifications to prevent it from being toxic. So, as long as I have meat space friends on there, I'll still be poking at it. But I am definitely trying to figure out ways to stop myself, I'm trying to figure out ways to use other services, and I'm weeding down my friends list because there's just too many bots coming on now. And that's the other thing I've noticed is there's a spike in people making friend requests, which usually means that there's that they're all bot accounts. Not all of them, but there's a lot. Usually they appear to be porn spammers, but I have a feeling some of them are not. So okay, with all that out of the way, and I've blabbed for almost half an hour now, let's get to more of Skullbeard and I reading from the Acts of John and whatever comes next.
All right. John therefore continued with the brethren, rejoicing in the Lord. And on the morrow, being the Lord's day, and all the brethren being gathered together, he began to say unto them, Brethren and fellow servants and co-heirs, I think, and partakers with me in the kingdom of the Lord, ye know the Lord, how many mighty works he hath granted you by my means, how many wonders, healings, signs, how great spiritual gifts, teachings, governings, refreshings, ministries, knowledges, glories, graces, gifts, beliefs, communions, all which ye have seen given you by him in your sight, yet not seen by these eyes, nor heard by these ears. Be ye therefore established in him, remembering him in your every deed, knowing the mystery of the dispensation which hath come to pass towards men, for what cause the Lord hath, I accomplished it. He beseecheth you by me, brethren, and entreateth you, desiring to remain without grief, without insult, not conspired against, not chastened, for he knoweth even the insult that cometh of you. He knoweth even dishonor, he knoweth even conspiracy, he knoweth even chastisement from them that hearken not to his commandments. Okay.
Yeah. And I just looked something up because I got curious. I was thinking of a way that they could have faked that. And the most obvious way that I could think of is by using the toxin of the pufferfish.
Oh, tetrodotoxin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you do it just right, you can make it look like people are dead for a period of time.
Interesting.
And you know, I mean, you'd get into all kinds of weird chemistry that I don't know if anybody back then would have figured out. But yeah, that would be how I would fake it. I mean, assuming anything remotely similar to this actually happened. And I'm going to say it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've not read the book, The Serpent and the Rainbow.
Don't bury me, I'm not dead yet.
Yeah, it's totally different from the movie. The movie just borrowed the title.
Okay.
But it's a true story of an ethnobiologist who went and figured out, oh, if you do this and that with the pufferfish, you can make a neurotoxin that knocks people out. And everybody thinks they're dead. I mean, you really have to work hard to figure out if they're dead or not.
Yep.
And then when it wears off, they're back to normal.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a good read.
Yeah, I've seen the movie. I haven't read the book.
Yeah, I read the book and then saw the movie, and I was rather disappointed in the movie because the book is, like I said, the guy he was in the doctoral program for ethnobotany at Harvard when he did the research that led to the book.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Let not then our good God be grieved, the compassionate, the merciful, the holy, the pure, the undefiled, the immaterial, the only, the one, the unchangeable, the simple, the guileless, the wrathful, the unwrathful, even our God, Jesus Christ, who is above every name that we can utter or conceive, and more exalted. Let him rejoice with us because we walk aright. Let him be glad because we live purely. Let him be refreshed because our conversation is sober. Let him be without care because we live continently. Not contently, but continently, as opposed to incontinently. Let him be pleased because we communicate one with another. Let him smile because we are chaste. Let him be merry because we love him. These things I now speak unto you, brethren, because I am hasting unto the work set before me, and already being perfected by the Lord. For what else could I have to say unto you? Yet ye have the pledge of our God, ye have the earnest of his goodness, Ye have his presence that cannot be shunned. If then ye sin no more, he forgiveth you that ye did in ignorance. But if after that ye have known him, and he hath had mercy on you, ye walk again in the like deeds, both the former will be laid to your charge, and also ye will not have a part nor mercy before him. That was sort of making sense, and then it just kind of drifted off.
Yeah, they got a habit of doing that, don't they?
Yeah. Or maybe it was me that drifted off. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I do tend to glaze over after a couple of lines. That sounds bad.
Yeah.
And when he had spoken this unto them, he prayed thus, O Jesu, who hast woven this crown with thy weaving, who hast joined together these many blossoms into the unfading flower of thy continence. That looks like cormtenance. I don't know if that's a misspelling or what. Who hast sown in them these words, thou only tender of thy servants and physician, who healest freely, only doer of good and despiser of none, only merciful and lover of men, only Savior and righteousness, only seer of all, who art in all and everywhere present and containing all things and filling all things, Christ Jesu, God, Lord, that with thy gifts and thy mercy sheltered them that trust in thee, that knowest clearly the wiles and the assaults of him that is everywhere, our adversary, which he deviseth against us. Do thou only, O Lord, succor thy servants by thy visitation, even so, Lord. Okay.
Yeah, I have looked, and cormtenance is apparently...
Oh, we got another 10th word.
It's like an Old English word or Middle English word from the looks of it. It doesn't show up in anything like a dictionary, but a lot of 19th century writings apparently, including Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes.
Okay.
And he asked for bread and gave thanks. What praise or what offering or what thanksgiving shall we, breaking this bread, name save thee only, O Lord Jesu? We glorify thy name that was said by the Father. We glorify thy name that was said through the Son. Or we glorify the name of the Father that was said by thee, the name of Son that was said by thee. We glorify thine entering of the door. We glorify the resurrection shown unto us by thee. We glorify thy way. We glorify of the seed, the word, the grace, the faith, the salt, the unspeakable pearl. The treasure, the plow, the net, the greatness, the diadem, him that for us was called Son of Man, that gave unto us truth, rest, knowledge, power, the commandment, the confidence, hope, love, liberty, refuge in thee. For thou, Lord, art alone the root of immortality, and the fount of incorruption, and the seat of the ages, called by all these names for us now, that calling on thee, by them we may make known thy greatness, which at the present is invisible unto us, but visible only unto the pure, being portrayed in thy manhood only. Yeah, that doesn't sound the least bit gay.
No, not at all. No, totally not. And he brake the bread and gave unto all of us, praying over each of the brethren that he might be worthy of the grace of the Lord and of the most holy Eucharist. And he partook also like himself likewise, and said, Unto me also be there a part with you, and peace be with you, my beloved. After that he said unto Varus, Take with thee some 2 men with baskets and shovels, and follow me.
Somebody's getting buried.
Sounds an awful lot like it, yeah.
That or they're going mushroom hunting, if you know what I mean.
Could be. That's a euphemism, isn't it?
Maybe. Depends on if you're in a cow field or not.
Uh-huh. And Varus, without delay, did as he was bidden by John, the servant of God. The blessed John therefore went out of the house and walked forth of the gates, having told the more part to depart from him. And when he was come to the tomb of a certain brother of ours, he said to the young men, "Dig, my children." And they dug, and he was instant with them, yet more, saying, "Let the trench be deeper." And as they dug, he spoke unto them the word of God, and exhorted them that were come with him out of the house, edifying and perfecting them unto the greatness of God, and praying over each one of us. And when the young men had finished the trenches he desired, we knowing nothing of it, he took off his garments, wherein he was clad, and laid them, as it were, for the pallet in the bottom of the trench, and standing in his shift, only he stretched his hands upward and prayed thus:
O thou that didst choose us out for the apostleship of the Gentiles, O God that sent us into the world, that didst reveal thyself by the law and the prophets, that didst never rest, but put always from the foundation of the world, saveth them that were able to be saved, that madest thyself known through all nature, that proclaimest thyself even among beasts, that didst make the desolate and savage so tame and quiet, that gavest thyself to it when it was athirst for thy words, that didst appear to it in haste when it was dying, that didst show thyself to it as a law when it was sinking into lawlessness, that didst manifest thyself to it when it had been vanquished by Satan, that didst overcome its adversary when it fled unto thee, that avest it thine hand, and didst raise it up from the things of Hades, that didst not leave it to walk after a bodily sort, that didst show to it its own enemy, that hast made it for a clear knowledge toward thee, O God Jesu, the Father of them that are above the heavens, the Lord of them that are in the heavens, the law of them that are in the other, the course of them that are in the air, the keeper of them that are on the earth, the fear of them that are under the earth, the grace of them that are thine own. Receive also the soul of thy John, which it may be accounted is worthy by thee. Yeah, I think they just got tired of his bullshit, took him out in the woods, killed him, and made up this story to cover him up.
Seems plausible. More plausible than the rest of the story. Mm-hmm. O thou who hast kept me until this hour for thyself, and untouched by union with a woman, bastard, who, when in my youth I desired to marry, didst appear unto me and say to me, John, I have need of thee, who didst prepare for me also a sickness of the body, who, when for the third time I would marry, didst forthwith prevent me, and then at the third hour of the day saidst unto me on the sea, John, if thou hadst not been mine, I would have suffered thee to marry, who for 2 years didst blind me, or afflict mine eyes, and grant me to mourn and entreat thee, who in the 3rd year didst open the eyes of my mind, and also grant me my visible eyes, who, when I saw clearly, didst ordain that it should be grievous to me to look upon a woman. Yeah, there's a lot of really homoerotic subtext. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's not even subtext. It's like supertext.
Yeah.
Who didst save me from the temporal fantasy and lead me unto that which endureth always, who didst rid me of the foul madness that is in the flesh, who didst take me from the bitter death and establish me on thee alone, who didst muzzle the secret disease of my soul and cut off the open deed, who didst afflict and banish him that raised tumult in me, who didst make my love of thee spotless, who didst make my joining unto thee perfect and unbroken, who didst give me undoubting faith in thee, who didst order and make clear my inclination toward thee, thou who givest unto every man the due reward of his works, who didst put into my soul that I should have no possession and save thee only. For what is more precious than thee? Now, therefore, Lord, whereas I have accomplished the dispensation wherewith I was entrusted, account thou me worthy of thy rest, and grant me that end in thee which is salvation unspeakable and unutterable. And F the ineffable. Fuck.
Oh, yeah, and, let me, because...
We're almost there.
Yeah, I know, but there's something you got to read, so let me just drop this link, if it will let me. There we go. I really hate how they hide all this shit. I'd heard of this guy, and I could never remember his name, and I finally managed to pull it up, and, well, you just read, like, the first two paragraphs of his entry in Wikipedia, and you'll see why he springs to mind.
Robert Romero Coates.
Yeah.
1862 to 1848 was an English eccentric, best remembered for his career as an amateur actor. His self-image included a highly mistaken belief in his own thespian prowess. Oh, yeah. Born in Antigua in the West Indies and educated in England, he began to appear in plays in Bath in 1809 and became notorious for his fondness for appearing in leading roles. His favorite part was the male lead in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, hence his widely used nickname. Romeo?
Mm-hmm.
After professional theatrical producers failed to cast Coates in roles prominent enough to satisfy him, he used his family fortune to subsidize his own productions, in which he was both the producer and the lead actor. Oh, okay. So, a little bit of Dunning-Kruger going on there?
Yeah.
Narcissistic tendencies.
Yeah, and he loved doing the death scenes and would drag them out, according to other accounts that I have read.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay.
Yeah. So now you see why I was reminded of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you read 112 or 113?
113. So we're down to 114 and 115.
Yeah.
And then we're done.
Yeah.
Yay.
More or less. And as I come unto thee, let the fire go backward, let the darkness be overcome, let the gulf be without strength, let the furnace die out, let Gehenna be quenched, let angels follow, let devils fear, let rulers be broken, let powers fall, let the places of the right hand stand fast, let them of the left hand not remain, let the devil be muzzled, let Satan be derided, let his wrath be burned out, let his madness be stilled, let his vengeance be ashamed, let his assault be in pain, let his children be smitten, and all his roots plucked up. And grant me to accomplish the journey unto thee without suffering insolence or provocation, and to receive that which thou hast promised unto them that live purely and have loved thee only. And having sealed himself in every part, he stood and said, Thou art with me, O Lord Jesus Christ, and laid himself down in the trench where he had strewn his garments, and having said unto us, Peace be with you, brethren, he gave up his spirit, rejoicing. Oh, my God. That was hideous.
That was brutal. Then
Yeah.
he laid himself down and gave up the ghost. Oh, fuck, I love some of these asides.
Yeah. Well, you want to try for something else, or have you...
Oh, that was fucking brutal, and I've been informed that I have missed eating supper at the appointed time, because nobody bothered to tell me it was supper time. So I wouldn't mind grabbing a bite to eat at some point.
Well, all right. We can...
If you got something queued up for next.
Not really.
Not really. Oh, okay.
So, I mean, I have the list, but I don't remember which one was going to be next, so I have to go look through that. So if you want to just call it quits, and we'll see how everything goes and see when I next have some free time.
Well, my brain hurts now, and so if you want to record some more within the next, I don't know how long, should be doable.
Okay, well, I won't have any idea what my schedule's going to be like until tomorrow at the earliest.
Oh.
And even then I won't know necessarily, because they may call me and say, don't bother coming in. Or I may get there and they may say, go back home.
Yeah, okay.
That's it for this episode of The Atheist in the Trailer Park Podcast. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, as well as just about anywhere else podcasts can be found. Many of the episodes are also on YouTube. Follow the show on Twitter. @TParkAtheist is the show's Twitter handle. It's on Facebook at facebook.com/trailerparkatheist.com. If you happen to like the podcast, please rate it on iTunes. If you'd like to support the podcast, there's a donate button on the show notes page. You can support it via Patreon at patreon.com/TNTucker. Thanks for listening.
Say goodnight, Fuzz-Nuts.
All I know is this violates every canon of respectable broadcasting.
Damned cat.